Okay, so let's get right into it. Imagine this. You've got a super popular online grocery company. Everybody loves it. It's seen as the future, and it's promising just mind-blowing growth. And then, poof, it just vanishes. Today, we're cracking open a real business mystery. The very strange case of Taza Direct.
So here's the real head-scratcher, the question that gets you hooked. In late 2015, the founder of this company, Taza Direct, is out there talking about 700% growth for the next year. 700%! Just a few months later, the whole company is gone. I mean, how on earth does that even happen? Well, that's exactly what we're going to figure out.
And this is how it all ended. Just like that. On February 18th, 2016, this is the message the customers saw. So sudden, and pay attention to that phrase, operational balances. It's a little bit of corporate jargon, right? It's a nice way of saying something really simple and really brutal. The business was bleeding money way faster than it was making it.
All right, so to really get how we got to that shocking final message, we kind of have to start at the end. For the startup world in Turkey, this wasn't just another company shutting down. No way. Taze Direct was a huge deal, a high-profile, heavily funded company, and when it collapsed, it sent some serious shockwaves through the whole industry.
Okay, now let's hit rewind. To really feel the shock of this failure, you have to understand why pretty much everyone thought Taze Direct was a sure thing, destined for massive success. I mean, if you looked at their plan, it's like they had every single ingredient for the perfect startup recipe.
And just look at this timeline. This shows you that Taze Direct was not some impulsive, thrown-together idea. The founder, Hasan Aslanova, had been carefully, meticulously laying the groundwork for 6 years. He was building out farms, a complex logistics network, all of this before the website even went live. This was a long-term play from day one.
And check out this setup. You've got a respected visionary founder, a huge personal investment, a business model that was basically copied and pasted from a proven winner in the US, a really noble mission people could get behind, and they controlled the entire supply chain. On paper, this thing looked absolutely bulletproof. You know, let's just pause on this number for a second. $35 million. This wasn't a tiny startup begging for seed money. This was a heavyweight, backed by a founder putting a massive amount of his own skin in the game. The commitment here was just immense.
So with all that going for them, how in the world did they fail? This is where our investigation really starts to get interesting. We're about to see how Taze Direct's biggest strength, that incredible, explosive growth, ironically became the very thing that sealed its fate.
Now, to understand their number one mistake, you got to know this term, the last mile problem. It's a huge challenge that even giants like Amazon are constantly fighting. Basically, getting something, especially fresh food, from a warehouse to a bunch of individual doorsteps efficiently, it is incredibly hard and expensive. For a lot of companies, it's a financial black hole.
And this comparison right here, this is the smoking gun. Taza Direct basically cloned the FreshDirect model, but they missed a super important detail: the local context. FreshDirect worked because it mastered the super dense grid of New York City, expanding slowly, block by block. Taza Direct tried to take that exact same idea and splash it across 5 sprawling, spread-out cities all at once. It created an absolute logistical nightmare from the get-go.
Oh, and the problems didn't stop with logistics. They spent a fortune on getting all these fancy organic certifications, but then they didn't really explain that value to their customers. And then, and this is a big one, to try and boost sales, they started selling regular old supermarket stuff. This totally watered down their unique, premium, farm-to-table brand and threw them into a price war they had absolutely no chance of winning.
So this is the bottom line right here. The moment they started selling the exact same brand of pasta or olive oil as a regular supermarket, customers could do a direct price check. And what did they find? Taze Direct was 20 to 30% more expensive. That completely kills your value proposition for all those everyday items.
Okay, so with all these operational clues in hand, now we can finally look at the money. This is where we really uncover the motive behind that sudden shutdown. The numbers tell a pretty clear story of a business that was, to put it simply, completely and totally unsustainable.
First, get a load of this: 30% revenue growth per month. On the surface, that is a phenomenal number. That's the kind of thing that makes a company look like an absolute rock star. The orders were flooding in, sales were going through the roof.
And this is the devastating catch. For every new dollar they were bringing in, they were spending nearly another dollar just to keep the lights on.
The cost from their broken logistics model, their marketing, all the food that went to waste, it was all growing almost as fast as their sales. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain wide open.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for it. The founder himself laid it all out. He said they needed to be 7 to 8 times bigger just to make the delivery costs manageable. And all that beautiful fresh food, high levels of waste were just destroying any chance of a profit. The model itself was fundamentally broken.
So, now that we've solved the mystery, what happened next? And, maybe more importantly, what can the rest of us actually learn from this spectacular collapse? Because believe me, the story of TazDirect has some pretty crucial lessons for any business out there.
Well, the brand itself didn't totally disappear. Later that year, it was actually bought by Migros, which is a huge supermarket chain in Turkey. And that just goes to show you that even though the business model was a total failure, the name TazDirect and the connection customers had with it, that still had real value.
So let's see what Migros did. They completely flipped the script. They basically threw out the ambitious farm-to-table dream, scaled everything way back to just one city, and plugged TazDirect into their own super-efficient supermarket logistics system. They kept the charming brand name, but they backed it up with serious operational muscle, the one thing the original company was missing.
So what are the big takeaways from all this? First, and this is so important, you have to master your operations. A cool brand is worthless if you can't actually deliver your product profitably. The supply chain is the foundation of everything. Second, adapt, don't just clone. A business idea that works in New York isn't guaranteed to work in Istanbul. You have to tweak it for the local reality. And finally, grow sustainably. Big revenue numbers don't mean a thing if your costs are just as big. Profit has to be part of the plan from the beginning, not some vague goal for the future.
Which kind of leaves us with this final thought. You know, in that frantic race to scale up, it's so easy to get hypnotized by exciting numbers like sales growth. But as the story of TazDirect clearly shows, there are some boring, unsexy fundamentals you can never, ever afford to ignore. And the real question is, which one is the most important?